I would like to start off with the traditional greetings of peace in our faith. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of the Almighty be upon each and every one of you. Distinguished guests, we first begin by praising the Almighty for the many favors Allah has bestowed upon us. And we say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise is due to Almighty, the Lord, the sustainer and the cherisher of the universe, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Salutations be upon the messengers of the Almighty and all of those who follow them in righteousness. On an occasion like this, in our tradition, in our teachings, there is a phrase, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. To Almighty do we belong, and to the Almighty is our return. And I think this phrase is an ideal way to start off my prayer and address on this occasion. On behalf of the Muslim community, we would like to take pride in a member of our community, and we would also like to express our heartfelt condolence to the Kathrada family, and not only to the family, to his colleagues, his comrades, and to the entire country. Mr. Kathrada, or Uncle Kathy as he was fondly known, had dedicated his life to the pursuits of freedom and justice. And these are values that are valued in all traditions and are cherished in all values. In the Quran, if there is one word that describes the overriding value that permeates our teachings, it is justice. Says Allah in the Holy Quran, لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلُنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْمِيزَانَ لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ. The Almighty has sent all the messengers of the Almighty, لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ, to establish people upon justice. The Quran further goes on to say that be steadfast upon justice even in conflicting emotions. Thus it says, كُونُوا قَوَّامَيْنَ بِالْقِسْطِ وَلَوْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِكُمْ. Be steadfast upon justice, even if it be against your own kind, even if it be against your own self. And it tells us, وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ. Do not let the dislike of anyone make you swerve from justice. So even against your own kind, and even in dealing with people whom you might dislike, remain steadfast upon justice. Huwa aqrabu lit-taqwa. It is closer towards righteousness. And with regard to freedom, the second Khalif of Islam had said that when he told someone who had oppressed another person, since when have you enslaved people, when the Almighty created them as free people? In this regard, we know that Uncle Kathy and Ahmed Kathrada strove throughout his life for these ideals, and we pray that the Almighty reward him for that. And on this sober occasion, I would like to make a bold statement and say, on behalf of our community, we will try our utmost to be able to play our role for the pursuance of freedom and justice and the upliftment of people in our country and throughout the world. With the passing of Uncle Kathy, we lose yet another library of knowledge, a brook of wisdom, a cache of experience and a voice of integrity. The curtain, sadly, is drawing and closing on a generation of gallant and selfless fighters for freedom and justice. As we join the rest of South Africa in mourning his passing, it is an opportune time to renew our commitment to the values that he stood for and he lived for. This was his address at the time of the passing away of Madiba, where he made mention of some of the challenges. Poverty, ill health and hunger still stalk our land. Greed show their ugly faces. Xenophobia and intolerance play their mischief in our beautiful land. Parts of the world out there find themselves in unhappy situations. Economies falter and stagger. Extremism and fundamentalism of all kinds are rampant, and the list goes on. On this occasion, Mr. Kathrada reminded us never to sit on our laurels but continue to fight in the myriad of struggles, domestic and internationals, for a better tomorrow. It was because of this that he also took a very keen role in the pursuance of the justice and freedom of the Palestinian people and other oppressed people of the world. In conclusion, let me give you a message of hope. Once, Mr. Kathrada and Uncle Kathy, to a colleague of mine, he was asked that what did you miss most in Robben Island? And he replied, the face of a young child. A child's face is a symbol of the renewal of humanity, the future, the coolness and innocence and a freshness that he always longed for. His message remained the same as he forcefully and yet with gentle demeanor advocated for education, health and tolerance. Celebrating the lives of people such as Kathy lies in our emulation of the ideals which they build the edifice of the service of humanity. This is a lasting legacy that they leave behind with us. May the Almighty forgive his shortcomings. May the Almighty admit his soul to his mercy. May the Almighty elevate his status. May the Almighty give us all the opportunity to follow in his footsteps for a better South Africa and a better world. Amen.